Defense, you may now call your next witness to the stand.
The defense calls Marco Polo to the stand. Mr. Polo, what is your occupation?
I'm an explorer.
So you've seen much of the world, correct?
Yes.
And you've seen the Mongol society?
Yes, I've seen quite a bit. As a matter of fact, their leader is a great friend of mine.
A close friend?
Yes.
Who is this close friend and how would you describe him?
His name is Genghis Khan. He is a great leader of the Mongols. He's the great Khan.
Do you have any proof of this great Khan actually being a good man?
Why, of course. He built an empire. He built palaces. He built homes for his people who were forced to wander the plains of Eurasia. He built a town called Tayud, which was the new home of the Mongols. And as for his subjects, all of them showed him their full respect, and they never revolted. He was a great leader, and there's no question about it. And under his rule, he also built a standard money currency made out of the mulberry bark.
I see. You've talked quite a bit about their society. Tell me about how the children were treated and how are the women treated?
Why, their women were treated wonderfully. They served as merchants and as housewives. And while the men were gone, they traded and they were able to do payments. They were fully respected, and their children were just as respected.
So your opinion of the Mongols is?
They were great people.
So the Mongols are good people, and Genghis Khan was a great leader who gave his people a good home.
Of course.
No further questions.
Marco Polo, you may stand down. Counsel, you may call your next witness to the stand.
We'd like to call Agathia Ogul to the stand. Miss Ogul, before the Mongol conquest, how would you describe the status of women in Mongolia?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, the women were treated equally to the men?
Yes, of course we were. We heard of other women in other societies not lavishing in right we Mongolian women had. This was a somewhat strange thing to us, seeing as many of us have seen it with our very eyes.
Interesting. Which rights are these rights that you mentioned?
Well, for one thing, we were allowed to join the Great Khan's army. Fighters were needed by men, so we were trained like men. And our training was nonetheless that different. What is the use of training if part of your military is weak?
As for property, were you allowed to possess property?
Yes, of course.
Household work?
If the men were the ones who generally fought and hunted, it was we women who controlled the household. And in fact, better for us too. What woman would want to be in the battlefield anyway, where she could be injured or raped or killed? Of course, we fought when needed, but most of us preferred the household rather than the battlefield.
And this was before Genghis Khan's conquests, am I right?
Before and after.
What was life like after the invasions when all settled down?
Much, much better than before the Great Khan's armies marched across all of Eurasia.
How so?
Before, we had to travel across China on horseback or caravans. We had to hunt for our food. We had to sleep in places prone to attack and the cold. And after, when the Great Khan cities were built, we sat in our peaceful homes. And we were great.
Great? What do you mean by great?
We experienced richness that we would have never experienced while living in the steppes and hills of northern China. We were peasants made queens, so to speak. We were proud. We no longer felt inferior to other peoples. We were grand. And for the first time, we were safe and under a peaceful reign that would last for more than a century.
Now tell me, what do you think about your people being put on trial for destroying Eurasian society?
I think this is stupid.
Objection! Objection overruled. You may continue, but please conduct yourself professionally in the court.
Thank you. What I meant was, sure, we did a lot of damage to what you called Eurasian society, but afterwards everything did turn out for the better, especially for the women in the lands we conquered. As for the actual destruction of Eurasian society, are we as Mongols part of Eurasian society too? We come from the same continent. Are we Mongols excluded from being a part of Eurasian society because we live so far north? No, we are part of Eurasian society. Therefore, we are being put on trial for destroying a part of us. That, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, that is why this is so stupid.
No further questions, Your Honor.